Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian Lad, and today I'm gonna reveal 11 hidden details from Squid Game Season 2 that I can bet you haven't noticed before. This is part 2 of my Squid Game Season 2 breakdown, but don't worry if you haven't watched part 1 yet, you can watch that video after you're done with this one. So without any further ado, let's begin. Number 1. For the six-legged game, Gi-hun and his team had to wait a long, nerve-wracking 4 hours before their turn. Let me explain how. With 365 players split into groups of 5, that's 73 teams in total. Now each team had 5 minutes to complete the challenges. Since 2 teams played simultaneously, that means the total wait time for Gi-hun and his team was 180 minutes or 3 hours. But wait, there's more. The guards needed extra time between rounds to clean up and collect the bodies.
장례가 정리될 때까지 잠시 기다려주시기 바랍니다.
So let's add another 1 hour for that. That would mean by the time Gi-hun and his team got to play the six-legged game, they had been waiting for a good 4 hours at least. Now imagine the mental toll it must have had on Gi-hun's team, since they were watching people fail and die over and over, knowing their turn was coming. Sure, going last gave them extra time to strategize, but god, waiting for the bodies to be cleaned up before you can go is just torture. This would also explain why Daeho was so good at playing Gongi. He probably remastered pebble throwing in those 4 hours, while everyone else was losing their minds. Number 2. When the recruiter played Russian roulette with the loan shark, notice that the recruiter actually loaded a dummy bullet. You can tell it by looking at the hole at the base of the casing. Here's how it works. That hole that you see is where the primer sits. The primer is a small explosive that when struck by the firing pin, ignites and propels the bullet out of the barrel. If the primer has already been hit or is missing altogether, the gun won't fire. So in the first round, there was 0 chance of the gun firing. Now in the second game, the recruiter added 3 more dummies, but this time 1 real bullet. You can tell this again as only 1 bullet has a flat base, meaning the primer hasn't already been hit. That means when the recruiter said they had a 5 in 6 chance of dying, in reality there was actually only 1 in 6 chance of dying.
죽을 확률은 6분의 5.
So why did the recruiter lie about this? My theory is the recruiter wanted to watch them suffer. He didn't want the game to end in just 1 or 2 rounds. Watching their fear and panic was part of his plan. Adding more bullets made both players think death was almost certain, even though the odds were still in their favor. Thanks to Simon for sending me this detail. Number 3. The recruiter died on the couch with his eyes still open. But if you pay close attention, a few moments later, when Gi-hun is talking to Cho Yo-sik, notice the actor playing the recruiter blinks. That's Gong-yu. And it seems like he got a bit tired playing dead and decided to sneak in a blink when the camera wasn't directly on him. But we love him so much, we notice him even when he's just lying dead in the background. Number 4. In the red light, green light game, Gi-hun's constant guidance and instructions kept everyone calm. And for almost 2 minutes, no one was eliminated. This was frustrating for the frontman, as the game usually sees a massive elimination spree within the first minute. But when player 196 finally gets eliminated, the frontman breathes a sigh of relief and casually takes a sip of his drink. Now here's where things get interesting. If you look closely at the screen he's watching, you'll notice 3 dead bodies on the ground, and that is a mistake, because at that point in the game, only player 196 should have been eliminated, no one else. Number 5. In episode 5, the frontman offers his milk to the pregnant girl, saying, "I cannot drink plain milk."
준 씨도 이거 더 마시고 다음 게임까지 힘내요.
아니요, 저 괜찮아요.
아니 그냥 마셔요. 내가 원래 신우유를 못 마셔요.
Now back in season 1, episode 3, Il-nam said that his son can't digest plain milk either.
Hey, is there any chocolate milk? I can't drink the normal kind. When I was a kid, I had problems digesting it, so I had to skip milk when I was in school.
My son did too. He was just like you, friend.
This could potentially mean that In-ho, aka the frontman, is Il-nam's son, as we learned in season 2 that In-ho and Jun-ho are half-brothers. They have the same father. Let me know your thoughts about this theory in the comments. Number 6. While watching season 2, you might have wondered, did any of the previous winners ever try to stop the games like Gi-hun? And I think the answer is no. Nobody ever attempted to take on the VIPs or the system to stop the games. Only Gi-hun did. Let me explain why. We know the games have been running since 1988, so by 2023, that's 15 editions and 15 different winners. But unlike Yoon, those winners were cold-blooded killers willing to do anything to survive. And we already know one of those previous winners is the frontman, so who knows how many more of the winners joined and are now part of the game. Think about it, Gi-hun's journey was defined by sheer luck and other sacrifices. In Red Light, Green Light, Ali saved him at the last second. During Dalgona, his sweat accidentally gave him the idea to lick the honeycomb. In Tug of War, the old man, aka Ilnam, devised the winning strategy. For Marbles, Gyun was paired with the game's creator. In Glassbridge, he almost went first, but ended up last, which saved him. Even at the end, Sung-woo killed Se-byok and then sacrificed himself during the final Squid Game. Gi-hun didn't win because he was ruthless, but because he's compassionate. He won because of luck, timing, and other sacrifices. Even during Season 2, he kept getting lucky with the recruiter. And that's what makes Gi-hun unique. He's an anomaly, someone who wasn't supposed to win but did, and someone who still has empathy. The previous winners, they were killers, hardened by the games with no reason to challenge the system. That's why we've never heard from them and why Gi-hun is the only one bold enough to fight back. Number 7. A lot of you commented on my part 1 breakdown saying I got a detail wrong. So I went back, rewatched, and now I'm here to clarify. The detail was this. In the Red Light, Green Light game, when everyone realizes that lives are truly at stake and players genuinely die for breaking the rules, notice how the son immediately jumps into action to protect his mother when green light is called. He quickly shields her, putting himself in front. But later, during the Mingle game, the same son abandons her. This small detail highlights how drastically human behavior can change when there's a huge amount of money at stake. So as I mentioned in part 1, the son abandons his mother during the Mingle game. But many of you believe he didn't actually abandon her, he was forcefully grabbed by the 2 other guys. Well, I hear you lads, but I still stand by my take. Yes, at first the 2 guys do grab him and drag him away from his mother, and yes, he does try to resist them, but only up to a point. Because if you look closely, and I'm gonna slow it down for you here, there's a moment where they stop grabbing him. At this point, he could have simply run back to his mother, but instead he gives up resisting, turns his back on her, and willingly walks into the room to safety. For me, that's a clear case of abandonment, so I hope you see the point I'm trying to make here. Number 8. The recruiter is fearless during the Russian roulette with Gi-hun, pointing the gun at himself multiple times without hesitation. But back in Season 1, when Gi-hun pulled out a lighter shaped like a gun, the recruiter flinched in fear. At first, this might seem inconsistent, but I think there's a valid reason behind this too. The recruiter was probably reacting how any normal person would in that scenario. He interacts with hundreds of players every year, all at their lowest points. He knows exactly how to manipulate and appear relatable to his targets. And in this case, I wouldn't be surprised if he knew that it was just a toy, but played along to come across as more human to Gi-hun. And who would expect an average guy down on his luck to carry an actual gun? And acquiring a real firearm in South Korea is incredibly difficult for the average person, so his reaction might be part genuine surprise and part calculated performance. Number 9. Notice how Gi-hun never uses an umbrella in the show. In Season 1, he was always walking in the rain without one. Even when he went to his ex-wife's apartment, he forgot to take the umbrella back. Now 3 years later in Season 2, he's still out in the rain without an umbrella. He seems to have this weird habit of just going out in the rain throughout the series. It's almost like the Dalgona game with the umbrella-shaped honeycomb left him with a lasting impression. Maybe carving out that shape made him see umbrellas in a whole new way. It's also a throwback to Season 1, where he said that he always used to forget his umbrella as a kid.
Well, growing up, I'd always lose my umbrellas and my mom would get angry. So then she gave me broken ones to bring to school. I always wanted her to get me one of those good umbrellas like the other kids.
It's such a small character trait, and I love how director Dong-hyuk Hwang kept it consistent across both seasons. Gi-hun and his forgotten umbrellas, it's just so him. Number 10. Back in Season 1, during the Dalgona game, the umbrella design on the wall was pretty simple. A basic umbrella shape. But the one players had to carve out from the honeycomb was much more complex, with extra angles that made it harder to cut out. Cut to Season 2, when Gi-hun dreams about another round of Dalgona, notice in his dream, the umbrella on the wall matches the exact design he had to carve out while playing. But in reality, the wall back then only had a basic umbrella design. This inconsistency wasn't a mistake, it was deliberate. It highlights that Gi-hun is dreaming, and his mind is reshaping the memory based on his own experience. It's also a clever visual clue for the fans to realize that what they're seeing isn't real, and Gi-hun is in fact dreaming. Number 11. The recruiter offers homeless people a choice. Take some bread or try their luck with a lottery ticket. But the show never really explains why he does this or who told him to. Well, I think I figured out the reason. He's doing it because he feels guilty, as his job is to recruit innocent people for a deadly game where most of them die. When they pick the ticket over the bread, it kinda annoys him, like he's surprised people would rather gamble when they're starving. But honestly, that's the point of the whole show. People often chase the slim chance of a big win instead of just taking the safe option. The recruiter's choice to play this little game is him justifying why he's part of the Squid Game. He thinks people would rather risk it all for money than just take what they need. He's not completely wrong, but he's not fully right either. It's like a mini version of the bigger theme of the show. People betting on a lucky break instead of playing it safe. Sure, it's just a scratch card, but it's the same idea. He's trying to convince himself that what he's doing is fine. And if we think about the players, they're not really making a bad choice either. Skipping one meal for the chance to win big? That makes sense, even for the rich people. You can always skip one meal, but if you win millions, you're set for life. So at the end of the day, the recruiter's just telling himself his actions aren't so bad. And if you think deeply, that's what the frontman believes too. In season 3 though, I think people like him and the recruiter will lose, because someone will always come to pick you up when you're down, whether the bad guys are alive to see it or not. Remember, when push comes to shove, humanity rises. And with that, please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, grab the subscribe button and turn notifications on. I'm your Canadian lad and I'll see you lads in the next one.